Hello people, my name is Sheila, and like I said in one of my earliest videos is that I love books, and besides the good book that we have as Christians, which is the Bible, the other books that have been written that help us grow our faith. They have been written by people who have gone before us, people are probably still here with us, but either sharing their experiences, so you find their autobios or on a subject, but those are really also good. They are books that are really good in helping us build our faith. But even just beyond that, they also help us understand our world better. So maybe we should start with what is the definition of good, because we live in a world where everything is supposed to be subjective. So what might be good for you might not be good for me, but isn't good quite an absolute term as well? So I went to the Oxford Dictionary anyway, and of course here we're using it as an adjective, which is a word that defines a noun. And the two meanings I found were: one, to be desired or approved of. For example, it's a good thing you're watching this channel. The second, having the required qualities of a high standard. For example, that's a good book. Like, it's generally agreed that that's a good book. When it's used as a noun, it talks about that which is morally right or righteous, maybe like virtue. It also means benefit or advantage to someone or something. So that's according to the Oxford Dictionary. And the Cambridge described it as very satisfactory, enjoyable, pleasant, or interesting, or over high quality level. So that's what good means. So the books that I've recently been reading, for me, that I consider really good and I highly recommend are, so the first is called The Secret Thoughts of an Unlikely Convert. This book, So this book is written by a lady, who's a feminist. She's an English professor, she's a feminist, and she's all into social justice, gay rights, and all that stuff that is seemingly good, but she was trying to write a thesis on like trying to understand Christians and why they're anti these things, or maybe the Bible. She goes on a quest and is asking questions. So that book is about her conversion and her journey. It's one of the best books that I've read, because I think it's a very honest book, and it made me see things as a Christian that I may not have seen. How sometimes we're so quick to shut down subjects we're maybe uncomfortable with, but also to just really listen to what people are saying to us, because people are seeking truth. And if we think we're each equally convinced in whatever we're believing and are not listening to one another, how will we learn? So that's a very fantastic book. I'll write in the comments, in the thumbnails, the title and the author. And the other book I've been reading recently is The Princess and the Goblin. This one I carried by George MacDonald. This guy. Anyway, let me just read for you the blurb. So The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald, and it says it's his second novel for children, and is well regarded as both his best children's story and one of the finest fantasy tales ever written. The Princess Irene lives in a castle on a mountain with her nurse Lottie, while in caves beneath a race of ugly goblins with heads as hard as stone. The lines are drawn from a fantastic confrontation between the princess, her great-grandmother, and her intrepid friend Caddy on one side, and the gnome-like goblins on the other. It's a thrilling battle for wits which must prove fatal for someone. Then it says, Tolkien, the famous Lord of the Rings, the Lord of Fantasy, as I call him, took his inspiration from The Hobbit, from his early love, from George MacDonald's timeless tales. So this guy comes before the famous Lord of Fantasy, Tolkien. But even beyond that, this guy was a Christian. And I think Christians have kind of lost an appetite for fantasy or for fiction. And sometimes this is the best way we are instructed. I think Chimamanda once from the essay saying, making a case for realistic fiction, and how she believes that it's both to instruct and to delight. And there's so much you can learn from here. So I don't want to go into it much further, but I would highly recommend that you read. And you don't have to agree with everything in the book. And I think I'm also discovering that books that are written to children have so much in there. I think C.S. Lewis said something about books written to children and reading them again as an adult. I'll find the quote and put it somewhere. So please read this as well. And then the other book I'm actually listening to is called At the Back of the North Wind, also by George MacDonald. And it's about this boy called Damon and his horse and his family. So there's a lot of characters in there. and his experience when he goes to the back of the North Wind. It's a book about faith, about courage, about friendship, about forgiveness. There are so many like themes that are parallel to the themes in the Bible. So let's widen our material. There's so much good stuff that's been written. I mean, not all classics are necessarily good because they're classics, but there's a reason they're also classics. So that's what I've been reading. Some I've finished, some I'm still reading. And I would like you to share what you're reading also, what you highly recommend, and why you recommend it in your comments. Let's keep learning. Soma Ko. Thanks, guys. God bless. Bye.